Have you ever built a part of your city early on, rushed through it and then avoided looking at it ever since? Well, today I'm finally facing mine. This was one of the very first areas I ever built in Sunny Isle. Low density, basic services, barely any detail, but it sits right in the centre of the city, next to the train station, and this spot deserves so much more. So today, we're giving it the Dream City Centre treatment. We're talking bigger services, including a proper hospital, museums, a Ferris wheel, a real waterfront promenade, with bike paths tying everything together, proper density, and finally some real detailing on the beach. By the end of this rebuild, it'll be the core it always should have been. Welcome to Sunny Isle. Hi there, before we start today's session, a little bit of housekeeping. We have since received a new patch which has introduced bikes into the game. It's also resolved the shopping bug where we had hordes of people moving around the city, blocking intersections and basically creating chaos. I also refined my mod list, removing a few things that I no longer needed. And this isn't a reflection on the mods themselves, I just no longer needed to use them. Most of them are still functional. A big thanks to all the mod creators for updating their mods in such timely manner. There's a couple of mods that I did have to remove due to some issues though, so that is the traffic light mod. So all those custom intersections that we created in the last episode are unfortunately now deleted, and I'm looking forward to the traffic light mod being updated in the future. I've seen the original mod author is working on introducing bikes into the mod itself, which is super exciting. And I have seen there's been a couple of replacement mods on PDX mods itself. I'm happy to wait since we were only using it in a couple of sections in the city, and for the most part, traffic is still moving. I did have a lot of loading issues. One of those was with Lumina. So Lumina hasn't been updated, and again, it does work pretty much the same as it was before, but I didn't like that it was continuously creating errors, and speaking to the mod author, they just suggested I remove it for now until it gets fixed. Overall, everything is looking good, and while I was waiting for the city to balance out, I did make a few off-camera adjustments. So we're here down by the roundabout, the big roundabout that we upgraded into a 5-lane monstrosity in the last episode. And we did use the traffic light mod to optimize this section near the fire station. But without that mod, it was all getting backed up. So I created this slip lane here so that vehicles exiting the roundabout can come straight off without having to wait, except for traffic going onto Phoenix Bridge itself. And then traffic coming onto the roundabout now has an extra lane here, which appears to have a little bit of street parking, so we can go ahead and remove that by adding an extra wide sidewalk. And with that extra lane, we're seeing a lot more traffic throughput, which is fantastic. And just a little bit along from the roundabout, we've got this intersection here near the bus station and taxi depot. This is the road that goes along the river and heads down to the bridge with the tram crossing. And we were getting a lot of backups at this intersection, so I kind of future-proofed it. I may have overbuilt it a little bit. We've got plenty of lanes for coming out of the T section, and plenty of lanes allowing traffic to continue on our little relief road that we're going along the edge of the city. I also moved this road, so originally we had it going along the river, but somebody suggested in the comments that it was starting to make the river look more like a canal, which isn't what I envisioned for this area. So I pushed it back up against the train tracks here, and it looks a lot nicer, a lot more natural, like the road would follow this path of least resistance. And we do get a little bit of green space underneath the bridge, which is lovely. Now you can see we got a lot of traffic along here and down by this intersection. So this was another one of those intersections that we used the traffic light mod to create a dedicated right turn. Unfortunately, without that mod, the vehicles now have to wait for the traffic coming across the intersection to clear, and then they also have to battle their way through that pedestrian crossing when there's lots of people walking about. However, I've noticed that most of the vehicles coming through here are these large trucks, and I've had a look to see where they're all going, and they all seem to be heading to this warehouse here. And if you have a look at the traffic info view, the thickness of these lines represents the amount of traffic coming through. So the thicker the line, the more vehicles are en route, which seems fine. But if you take a look at the post office, look at this. The lines towards this post office are very thin. I mean, that's just a pedestrian road, but let's have a look at the school. Again, they're just pedestrians. We need to find one that has road access. Yeah, so here you can see if it's just one or two vehicles, it's quite a thin line. But if we have a look at this warehouse, it's crazy. We've got so many vehicles coming and going, and it just seems very unreasonable to have a business with so much traffic coming through this area, especially with the school here. And it is causing backups all the way down to our big roundabout. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and delete this building. Initially, I put it here as a place for the school to store equipment. But I think since we've got bikes in the game now, we could use this space to add our very first bike parking lot. And we've got quite a few options here. This is the underground one, the large one. We probably just want to go for one of these small ones. I think, yes, this medium-sized one will be perfect, I think. And that will provide a bit more access for bicycles through this area. We could even put a little one next to it. Let's see what we've got here. We've got this one here. What's the orientation? Yes, I think this little one will be quite nice just next to it. There we go. If we have a close look at this, yeah, that looks fantastic. We've got a little tree there. Let's move that out the way. And that looks really nice. Now, I know that you can add a parking fee, but I think we'll keep bicycles free for now, since we probably want to encourage that behavior. And we can already see a lot of bicycles heading this way. And it's actually worth mentioning, since I've let the game run a little bit to clear out all the pedestrians and all the traffic that we had in the last episode, I've not seen that many bicycles on the road. And I don't know whether it's because we don't have any bicycle infrastructure or any parking spaces for it, or it could be the fact that we're seeing a lot of public transport use. I'm not too sure. Okay, it looks like the traffic is clearing up on the bridge in that direction, which is fantastic. But it looks like we do have a little bit of traffic on this road here. But it looks like it's just being caused by a traffic accident. So no issue with the road design. In fact, I did also adjust this off camera as well. So this was one of the intersections that we used the traffic light mod. And since we weren't able to use it anymore, I added a couple of extra lanes so that turning traffic didn't have to wait as they head into the city. And although this is 2 lanes, it does merge back into one. So the wide section of the road is only at this intersection. We don't necessarily have lots of wide roads going through the city. I can see we've got a little bit of a backup heading out of the city, and it appears that a lot of vehicles are heading down this road here, which isn't ideal since we do have this major intersection here. If we have a look here, we don't have that many vehicles heading down here. So I wonder if there's a way of encouraging them to use this route instead. I think they aren't able to go to this side of the block because of these roads here. So this is going in one direction here and in another direction there. So let's go ahead and update the directions of these roads, and let's use the upgrade tool. So let's keep both of these roads heading towards the sports field, and then it looks like we have a parallel set of roads also heading in the same direction. I'm going to reverse these, so then if anybody wants to use this route, they can then use that little alleyway. I also see we've got a little bit of room here where we've got these palm trees where we could add an extra lane. So if we just pick up the asymmetric road here and upgrade it, we should see traffic moving a little bit better now that vehicles heading out of town don't need to wait for vehicles turning right here. and it already looks like it's starting to clear up. Fantastic. Yeah, it looks like the queue only goes down as far as the high school here, so that's clearing out. And it looks like this traffic accident has almost been resolved as well. Yes, look at this. The bridge is looking nice and tidy. Traffic is moving. And it looks like the big roundabout at the top here is also clear. Okay, fantastic. I've really enjoyed doing a little traffic fix at the start of this session, but now it's time to start building today's project. Okay, let's think strategically about bicycle infrastructure. I want to be using bikes mostly to funnel people through to the center of the city where we've got the most congestion, removing vehicles and replace them either with bicycles or having people use bicycles to get to public transport. So I think for certain we need to have a look around the train station. Oh, that was a bit of a sticky moment there. Have a look around the train station and see what we can build around here. I don't think this comes with any bicycle racks by the looks of it, but I was hoping to take advantage of a little trick that Teddy Radko had found. So we take the underground bicycle parking hall and we place that down. For example, let's just imagine we're going to place it out here, okay? And let's just turn this around so we don't extend out into the river there. Perfect. So we have the side entrance. Now if we have a look at this, so the area in which you can place it is within this boundary here, but if we turn on anarchy, we can place that outside of the area, similar to how we used the medical clinic from the medical university that we've got at the other side of the map, and we're able to place this somewhere else in our city, and people still use this. People walk to this to get healthcare. So I'd like to use the bicycle parking side entrance as a way for people to move around the train station, so to get from one side to the other without having any like crazy tunnels. You know what the game can be like if you start trying to play around with too many underground networks. And then I was thinking of maybe even putting a connection on this side of the river, and we can use that imagination. Imagine that there's a bicycle storage area that runs right along underneath the train station, underneath the river, and then outside near this big post office here, or maybe even a little bit closer to this section down here where we've got some space. So this is only a small little asset, so I think we can potentially just squeeze this here, and I don't think this needs a road connection. It just needs to have pedestrian access for the other one over here. We've got this school, it's quite low density, so just get rid of this and then all the kids will have to find a different spot to go. But let's find that main building again and place down another one of these side entrances. Now I don't want to take the mickey and place this way down here near this main road. I want the distance to be reasonable, so I think this corner here might be quite nice where we've got this intersection, and we can also upgrade this road to the regular wider street all the way down to the main road now that we've removed that school. So let's place that down here, and then let's have a look to see if anybody is traversing between the three of them, and turn on our traffic routes, and we can start to see the yellow lines of bicycles coming in. Now it's hard to tell whether people are using this as a shortcut to go from one side to the other, not without following someone. Now let's have a look. We've got a cyclist about to go in here, so let's follow them and then see where they go. So they seem to have changed their mind and they are heading down to the main entrance. So let's have a look to see what happens after they've got to their destination. Okay, let's slow it down and have a look at what happens after this moment. Oh, we've just teleported. So we've just come out to the school, the train station, and it appears that they're walking. Brilliant, that actually worked really well. I can see loads of other people are now coming out of this side entrance here. So they must be doing something similar where they're heading to these other side entrances and they're using it to get across what is quite a hostile area for pedestrians. Like, the only other way to get to the other side is either to walk across this bridge, which is quite heavily impacted by traffic. It's not a very nice experience, or to walk all the way down to the end of the river and then come back up. Okay, before we start developing this area, I'm going to clear out a lot of the low density through here. So we've got a good space to start to build our cycle paths along the river, create a little park area, and increase the density through here. You can see we've got quite a lot of leftover low density zoning through here from when we first developed the city. These are some of the oldest homes through here. We've got a tiny little medical clinic that can probably be replaced. And then we've got a few of these small businesses as well. So we're going to change all this up. And we've got a nice clean space to start to develop. However, I was just thinking about what we could do along this river. Like, could we bring ferry services? I know that we won't be able to draw a narrow seaway through here in vanilla, and without anarchy, yes, it's not going to work. It's going to conflict with everything. Let's just test it out up to here, and yeah, that looks okay. And then if we just turn on the continuous tool, and then let's go through the middle of that path there. Now I think we might need to upgrade that to have a little bit more clearance, although that might be okay. I think that looks like a good spot. Let's connect it up to the narrow boatway. Find our ferry line, and then let's connect up this stop with this stop, and then we should see the first ferry heading out of the depot. Okay, we're coming to the first bridge and it's going to crash. Yep. Oh dear. But this is the one I'm a little bit more worried about, because I don't want to change the elevation of this bridge too much, and it looks like it does clip pretty high up. We'd have to raise it up almost as tall as that tram. Okay, so we've done something here, and why are you coming all the way down here? Okay, he's backing up. Okay, so yes, of course we can't have the ferries coming all the way up to the train station. It's just not possible to make this bridge any higher. Not without making it unrealistic for the trams at least. And I'd say the trams are the priority through here. These hold a lot of people, move a lot of people around. So instead, we've been building on the bicycle infrastructure. So we do continue to have the underground bicycle parking hall there, with the entrance by the train station and the other side of the river. And we've extended, or at least painted down, some cycle lanes along this road that connects up to that cycle parking hall. And this goes all the way down and towards the main train yard here. And we do have a pedestrian crossing at the top here, which we for sure can upgrade to handle bicycles as well. But the biggest change is through here. So you may recall in a very early episode when we built the harbour arm, we had this pedestrian walkway along here using the pedestrian roads. And now we've got this combined cycle pedestrian road, basically replacing what we had there before. And I think this looks absolutely fantastic. And we've even opened up a little bit of green space along this edge here, which we can place down some foliage. But the main purpose of doing this was so that we could have a nice clean bridge connection. So I haven't completely got rid of this bridge yet. I've just replaced it. It currently goes out to nowhere, and I'll tell you what we'll do on that side in a second. But you know, you get those annoying fences when you connect a pedestrian bridge to a road that has a retaining wall. Well, with the new bicycle keys, that is completely gone. And I think this should be implemented to all roads. I don't know why we have to do it like this, but this works really well. Now, I did have to replace the pedestrian path that we had, or the pedestrian road that we had coming through here, and connected it up to this roundabout. It's proven to be pretty popular with pedestrians. It's going to be a good route through here, but we needed to do it because we needed to have a vehicle access to the train station and these few shops down here. Without it, it would just be a dead end. And yes, you could put a cul-de-sac or a roundabout on the end and that little icon will disappear, but the vehicles coming down here will also despawn, so it's not ideal. On this side, I think instead of trying to bring the ferries into the city, we could make use of the new ferry terminal, and I think this would sit really nicely on the end here, and this will pretty much complete the trifecta of public transport that we've got going through the area. Well, even more than that. So we'll have ferries, we'll have these large ferries at the harbour here, we've got the 2 train stations, we've got the trams, we've got the bicycles, and we could even add buses if we want to, because this does come with a bus upgrade. So yes, I'm thinking we could have something like this here. So I'm going to probably place it where that pedestrian path starts, and then we can have a little road that goes right up to that section, and we will use move it to raise this up a little bit. But yes, it will look something like this, and it creates a nice little area here, a focus near the river. Now I think I might move it along just a little bit, but it starts to develop our little beach area, which is quite nice. I think we could even upgrade our beach today, since this is pretty rotten looking. This is when the vanilla surfaces were first added into the game, and we've created much nicer beaches. Look at this one down here, it's fantastic, and look at everybody walking along the beach. Okay, so I think we've got something coming along here. Now, I did get a little bit distracted building out this ferry pier, but I think it's all worth it, especially when we want to integrate bicycle infrastructure. But I think it's turned out really nice. So we could upgrade this with the bus terminal in the future, but I'm happy just keeping it as a car park for now, and we can even add a parking fee, just set it something really high so that only the most special guests can use it. For the most part, people will be coming here via tram or by bicycle or foot. So you do have a tram stop just on the other side of the river here near the brewery. And then we've got another tram stop on the main road near the bridge here. So lots of access. We also have started to upgrade the bicycle infrastructure along the beach, which will take you all the way down to Mont Clementine, if that's your preferred method. And I think I will want to connect it up with a ferry somewhere maybe around the back where there isn't as much public transport access. I think there was a little food stand here. I think if we go into anarchy mode, yeah, you can see it's disappeared. So we'll just use the transform lock on that so that it stays. I think we've got to use this sub building button. There we go. And that should stay. Nice. So yeah, this is a nice little waiting area, not overly detailed. It's always a little bit difficult filling out these spaces, and I've never really used the grid tool, so I had to play around with that, and it's turned out quite nice. Over here, I don't think we need this road here, but I was having a look at some of the new packs. So we've got 2 Ferris wheel packs. We've got this one here, which I think might be quite nice. Or we've got something a little bit grander, which I imagine you would find somewhere near the coast. So I would love to place that in here. And then you've got a great view as you come up of the whole city, of the whole beach, the whole harbour. I think that'd be really nice. It's just connecting to something right now that I'm not really happy with. But we place that around here, and then we can even connect up some of the pedestrian footpaths that come with this. So we've got a footpath here that comes straight into that zebra crossing, which is quite nice. We'll have to connect it up on this side. I don't want to draw a key all the way down here. We could potentially sneak a path underneath this road so people don't have to cross the road, and then we can continue that all the way down there. I do want to bring that cycle path through here as well. So I had split it up a little bit, but we'll have to merge it back together as we head further inland. But I think that looks really nice. We just need to bring a road out front, and we could either continue the park, the recreational area on this side, or even have a look at starting to put down some buildings. Hello, we got a bike traffic jam coming up here. So I placed down a couple of these bike parking spots, these bike racks. I've got a little sheltered one here, and it looks like the rumors of the tsunami of bikes that come to your city is completely true. I am curious though, because we really haven't placed any cycle infrastructure in our city. We've not even scratched the surface yet. I do wonder, once we start to spread out the parking a little bit more for these bikes, will this really be that much of an issue? I think by the end of the episode, I'll go through the city and I'll place a bunch of these roadside ones. They don't really take that much room and they're quite easy to place down. But for now, we do have quite a lot of people using this path, which is fantastic. You know, we've got this bridge here and I absolutely love seeing everyone going across it. I've got this little patch over here, and I was thinking of bringing the tram track out and creating a more interesting area. We've got the station. Where are all the tram stations through here? We've got one here, so it would technically have to go here. Let's just put that down as a placeholder. And if we wanted to match that distance, I'd say we could probably put another one there. And then maybe move that one down there. And then that's pretty good distance to either one of those. So this is going to be a very dense area, so it's okay if the stops are quite close to each other. For this tram stop near the Ferris wheel, I thought about using one of these new tram junction stations. So we've got a few different options to pick from. I think we're going to go for the one that's parallel. This is a loop here. So yeah, I think what we could do is we could remove this part of the tram track, and then we could bring this station as close to that road as possible, and then we can have a little bit of green space in front of the Ferris wheel. I think that'd be quite nice. So to do that, we need to let's first remove that tram stop. Let's just grab a regular road, and then we're going to upgrade this side. Now it's going to be a little bit upset because we're losing that tram track there, but once we get this back in, if we don't let it connect up. Okay, that's a little bit further out than I like, but what we can do is we can use move it to bring it in as close as possible. And there's going to be some markers within this asset that aren't going to be too happy. I wonder if we rotate it all the way around, will we still get those markers? We don't, but we will need to make sure that this road comes around the back and it has all the services it needs, such as water, sewage and electric, even though I don't see any toilets on this asset. Yeah, I think that should be okay. We'll bring that over just a little bit, and then we can bring that tram track back in. Okay, so this is the first draft of what this little park area is going to look like. We've got the tram coming in now, which is fantastic. I think we've already got some people waiting at the stop. Maybe not. Oh no, I can see there's one person down there waiting. So yeah, there are some people that are already using it. The tram's coming in. We do need to maybe fix that elevation a little bit. It looks a little bit high up, doesn't it? Just bring that down. Oh, then the tram just drops a little bit. We've got all these cyclists causing congestion through here. So we could add a cycle lane onto this, and that might ease some of the issues. I think the problem is though, with some of these custom roads, yes, you can't place the cycle path on both sides of the vehicle lane because Road Builder only allows you to put them on the outside of the road, which, yeah, it can be a little bit tricky to work with. So we can obviously stick that in there, and it allows cyclists to go in that direction. It looks like we've broken our little tram connection there, but it might look okay, you know, having that like this. You know, if we bring that through here, can we use a double? Let's put it in this side here and see what that looks like. And if we want to put it on that side, what's that kind of, that's going to look really wacky, isn't it? All right, let's have a play around and see if we can fix up this whole area. I think we just need to do a little bit of a speed build to get this into shape. Okay, so the park's in good shape now. I'm really liking the look of that. I've cleared out the last remaining buildings through here. I think we can just start with a clean slate. I left the car park here, so that does replace what was a surface level car park. I think I also want to upgrade this road to be a little bit wider, and this will allow us to upgrade it with cycle lanes in the future if we want to, or add trees. It also just shows the progression of the city as it grows, and we can also adapt it for different uses in the future, whether we need to add wider sidewalks or anything in between. But that does leave an awkward one tile gap behind this car park, so I think I will remove it and replace it with a slightly shorter one. So let's just head into the parking menu. I think it was that one that we had before. So I think I'm going to put this one down and we'll plop it about there. I've been having a look at some of the unique buildings and some of the other services that we could place down. So we did destroy a medical clinic. So I think it is worth adding something here in this area to provide local services. But then I was thinking, we don't have a hospital in the city at all yet, and it's very rare that you get an opportunity to build a large building in a central part of your city, especially if it's been established. And I really like the look of this French hospital here, and I think it sits on this corner quite nicely, and the back of it is still a nice garden area. I wanted to kind of keep this area looking a little bit more natural, an extension to the park, since this side of the river is quite grey with all the rails and the road. But if we do need to upgrade it in the future, we can always add the wing extension, which I think is a fantastic addition. But at the moment it's not needed, and it fits into the surrounding environment really nice. And we'll bring this cycle footpath around the back. And I don't want to continue the quay all the way up. We'll bring it further inland so that we get some of that nature. But I think that sits there quite nicely. And then if we have a look at some of our unique buildings, we've got quite a lot available from the Mediterranean Heritage Pack. And I really like this corner piece where we've got a little bit of a indent. And I think that might look quite nice on the corner there. And it'll open the space up a little bit, and it fits quite nicely next to that car park. And then over here we could also have a look at some of the other assets. Now it is quite large, and maybe it would be better suited on this corner actually. See what that looks like. Yeah, that looks quite nice. And then when we get the other buildings in here, we need to align things with Move It. I don't mind doing that, every now and then. I don't want to overdo it. I want this to be quite a modular build, so we're using quite strict layouts so that we can always come through and replace zoning without having to work too hard to plop it back or put it back into a nice satisfactory state. Now I don't think there's many other buildings through here that I want to add or we've even unlocked yet. The only one that I really like the look of is the Skylines Heritage Museum. And I think that could go opposite this park here. It's quite nice. What's it look like at the back? We don't want to have an ugly section at the back. Yeah, it only leaves us one tile. So maybe we have it down here on the front. Does it have a nice side section? Let's have a look at that. So we do have this big window on the side here, which is quite interesting. And I will upgrade this road to be a wider road when we start to work on the beach. I think we could move this around and have it facing the ocean instead. Something like that should be quite nice. And we'll just bring it right up to the edge here. Yeah, that's quite good. And then there's a bit of access here for maintenance. They can access the road directly. And I don't think this side needs anything. There's no upgrades. And we could bring in a little bit of either a park space or maybe remove some of this parking and bring in further inland here. We could bring that road up across here. We've got a pedestrian path at the moment, and I think we could continue that. And we are snapping that to the tiles here. So we could do that. And then at the back here, as I said, we do have this one tile gap, but we can use some of the pocket parks if I can find the right section. Something like this. Yeah, that looks quite good. And that just fills in that little gap. And then on the other side, we can have some nice zoning. So I'll go ahead and put some of that zoning in and see what it looks like. Okay, so we got the bicycle path basically doing a full loop of this section of the river now, which is fantastic. We've got obviously the bike path going, or the bike upgrade along this road here, which follows the edge of the river and the train track. And then we've actually got a dedicated bike path in front of these beautiful Netherlands row homes. And that just cuts across here. We've got a little bit of an intersection. We've got somebody just checking out the fishing pier, which is quite nice. I think that little bit of the pier could be converted into just a regular path. Fantastic, and I don't think that's destroyed any buildings. I always love it when it just works. And yes, we've got people cycling all the way down, and I've made sure I've added little entrances so people can get on and off the cycle path at different parts of the track itself, and that just comes through here, takes a little bit of a shortcut underneath this bridge, comes out by the post office, and then that comes down, and we got this little underground car park, bike park, the one that can teleport you over to the train station if you need to. And that's an absolute blessing to have that here, because it beats having like a underground pedestrian tunnel or some sort of bridge that might just look a little bit crazy, especially in CS2. Things aren't always as smooth. And then the path continues, and this is where it intersects again with the pedestrian path. And I thought we may as well make use of the pedestrian paths or the park in this hospital asset. So that's why I've not continued the pedestrian combined cycle path through here, since pedestrians already have quite a lot of options when they come either through the park or along the road. And then yes, that continues through here under the bridge, which is fantastic. It's a great shortcut, and then onto our little ferry park or little river park. I've not really come up with a name with this yet, but it's fantastic seeing all these cycle lanes being used. It's super busy. I've been putting a little bit of cycle parking here and there, so we've got some cycle parking down by the tram stop here, although there's not that many people using these. And if we have a look at the zoning, I've tried to keep most of the commercial on the main street along the park near here, and then I've tried to keep this top section in any of the inside parts of the block as residential, since it should be a little bit quieter in those areas, the roads at least. But yeah, this is looking really nice. Now, along this beach area, we've got all these parking facilities that I think we should remove, but we could replace it with a really long underground car park. Somebody suggested that in the last video, and I thought that was a fantastic idea. We could hide all that underneath the road, while also giving local residents somewhere to store their car, and then we can start to develop this beach and make it look a little bit nicer. And I really like the look of some of these static ploppable service buildings. I spotted this USA Northeast Police Station. This is the extra jail cells upgrade. And to me, this looks like something you sometimes see at the seaside. And if we just plop that on the end here, we might be able to stick a couple of these together. But yeah, this is reminding me of some of these old British seasides that have like these old buildings, especially along the coast. Stick that onto there. And then this gives us a couple of garages, and they do kind of look a little bit rusty and horrible, don't they? Otherwise, this is a really nice looking asset, and it's probably not very nice having it at the end of this vista here. But I think since this is a way for drivers to go all the way down to the end of the beach and there isn't really anywhere else for them to go, they go into these underground areas. And I think what we could use are some of the blocks, the service blocks. So we've got the underground parking blocks, so we do need to unlock underground parking. So let's head into roads and unlock that for 4 development points. Let's go back into the roads. And then I think we can just place, well, let's just place it outside here and just see what it looks like for now. So this has 100 parking spaces, which is fantastic. And you can always add an extra 100 more like that. We could even add 1,000 capacity, which is crazy. And we can even add some workplaces, which might be quite nice. So let's go ahead and move that in there. We can see the front of the asset is this dash line here. So I'll just turn that around. And I think if we put that here, people should be able to access it. We can even have a look at it through the door there. Now, if we put another one next to it, let's make sure we've got it rotated the right way around using move it. Yeah, you can see we had it backwards there. Let's bring that around and let's move that in, and let's just inspect this to see if it's working. And I think to do that, we just need to select it, and then we'll have a look at the route tool, and we can already start to see vehicles that are pathfinding their way there, which is fantastic. And it may not be very nice having the view blocked at the end of the road, but maybe we can move this around here into the side of the road and bring that road around a little bit. Maybe have a little bit of surface parking just to give you the idea of what's in that space. I could have gone absolutely crazy with these decals from Risborough. These beach decals, especially these underwater ones, look fantastic, especially near the coast where the water's a little bit more shallow. It kind of blends in really nicely and you don't need to do too much. I've just got them going along the edge of the water here. Now, if we have a look at the beach itself, I did put down one of those invisible walking areas, so we might see some people using it eventually, similar to the other beach that we've got. And we've got plenty of cyclists heading down here. It's great. This little underground car park, we can just see there's a vehicle popping in there. It's not the most elegant solution, but it works pretty well for storing a lot of vehicles, and we can always upgrade it in the future. We've got this beautiful museum or aquarium on the corner here, and it was just one of those buildings I felt like if it fits, it sits, as one of my other favorite content creators often says. And out here on the beachfront is the perfect spot to get lots of tourists in, lots of visitors, along with our other museum down here. This is going to be a big destination, and that's probably why all these little commercial developments have popped up, because of how busy it is. I really like this little pink one on here. Could possibly be like a little bar or somewhere to get some souvenirs. And then that continues down here where we had a little bit of space. And as you remember, this was all car parks, so the groundwork was pretty much in place. It was all solid asphalt, and all they had to do was come in and build on top. Now, we did extend the beach, as I said, because it's a lot nicer to have a big beach, especially in a touristy area like this. That little skinny one we had before just wasn't fit for purpose. And we do have a visitor out here just checking out the view, and they may also come out here and do a little bit of fishing. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. Most of the areas we just kind of brushed over with a few trees, and I think it's quite nice to have these natural areas near the coast, somewhere a bit cooler to keep calm and cool down. However, we did lose quite a lot of buildings along here, and we've started to upzone it into denser development. However, I think on this corner, I've not explored many of the larger assets from the waterfront zoning, and I thought this would be a really good spot to put something. However, the zoning is a little bit broken because I extended this corner. I made this corner a little bit smoother, and so we'll have to plop down something in here. And I've gone ahead and I've found this 5x6 North American commercial waterfront, and if we pop that in there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure that this isn't locked. I want to see what it looks like as it levels up. And I think I've had a sneak peek at the level 5 version, and it's about as tall as this little apartment complex next door. So I think it'll be quite nice on the coast here. Again, as I said, we've got a lot of footfall. You can see how much traffic we've got going down here with all the bikes coming through here. They eventually sort themselves out. So this is a really good spot to put a little bit of commercial, since we don't have anything coming to this little ferry terminal yet. I'm going to grab the wide concrete leisure pier. I'm going to attach this onto the end here, bring that down to about there, and then I'm going to use, well, I think I'm just going to turn a 90 and maybe just go a little bit in the other direction, just so that we get none of those weird curvy corners. And then I'm going to go back into the ferry stop, so we could have one there, and we just need to connect that in here. And then we just need to grab our little ferry line tool, and then that's going to go from there. And this will be pretty simple. We'll just come up to here, and then we'll send that all the way back. Okay, we got the first stop. Now, I doubt there's anybody on it because they've not had enough time. But that will ping back and forth to the other side of Mont Clementine, and hopefully we get a few people using it as a little bit of a shortcut to come down to this little touristic coastal area. Be quite nice. Next, we're going to rezone the entire area. We've got mostly mixed use and row homes from the European and North American base assets. I'm going to take advantage of all the new region packs through here. To improve connectivity, I'm also going to include a few side streets through the center of these blocks. throw down a few of these parking roads so that at least some of the residents have somewhere to put their car. However, most residents won't have access to a dedicated car parking spot, so they'll have to make use of the public transport in the area. We've got trams and we've got buses, as well as that dedicated bike path that we've put along the front of the beach. For the mixed use, I'm actually going to use the Plop the Grobles mod to place down a few of the assets. I like to use quite a small footprint for buildings in general, since it just creates a little bit more variety in the skyline. In fact, we'll be making use of some of the high density zones, something that we've not used very much in the city thus far. And I am going to throw down an elementary school. We do have plenty of spaces in the city, but given that this area is going to be hosting a home to a lot of people, we may as well have something local that people can go to without having to travel too far. And we can start to fill in the little gaps in the area with some of these zoning categories. Now, I do like to mix it up, a little bit of UK, a little bit of Japanese and Southwest, whatever takes your fancy. And then if we've got little gaps in between, I like to fill them with alleyways, little parking spots. And this is quite a process that I enjoy, but I don't really share very often. Hopefully this is a useful overview of how I like to zone, and let me know how you like to zone when you're working on your cities. On closer inspection, it's good to go through the build, add a few trees and fix up some of the colours of the buildings. We don't really want things to stick out like a sore thumb, but we also don't want things to be identical either. We want to embrace the chaos, but we don't want it to be ugly. For the river that we have running through the city, I'm going to complete it with a little bit of detailing, taking advantage of those new decals and bring in a few of those boulders just to make it look a little bit more rugged. And let's make sure that we make the beach safe by adding a few of these life rings. Over by the cycle bridge, we had a conflict between pedestrians and cycles. So an easy fix for this, we're going to go over the top. Although we're not seeing a big increase in population, I have made sure to unlock all the plopped buildings. So these will all naturally level up. So we've already got a few leveled up buildings. This is a level 3 here. I think I spotted this one. Yep, go up to level 2. A lot of the high density buildings I remember from previous cities can take quite a while to level up, especially to level 5. So it'll be interesting to see how this area develops. It'll probably look quite different when we next come to it. And I'm quite happy to change buildings if needed, but I'm also quite intrigued to see how the area will develop over time using the vanilla mechanic. And even though we did remove that school down near the hospital, we do have a new elementary school here. I felt like it was necessary to put something in this area rather than having people walking halfway across the city. Even though the attendance is fairly low at the moment, once these buildings level up and they get a lot more people in them, I'm sure the amount of children heading to this school will increase. And in the last update, or maybe the one before, tourism was fixed. So we have the Sunshine Hotel at the end of the beach here, and it looks to be making a pretty decent profit with around about 380 rooms currently rented out. If we have a look at the tourism through the area, you can see in terms of attractiveness, this whole beach area is absolutely shining with green. So we'll see a lot of tourists heading to this area. I'm just happy to see that within the mechanics of this game, that this area is naturally an attractive place for people to visit, and we haven't had to force it in any way. And that's simply down to the fact that we're using an abundance of parks and leisure venues through here. We've got everything from the Ferris wheel, the Heritage Museum and the aquarium, along with the culture centre that we've got at the top here with the theatre district. This area certainly is a destination now. If we take a look at the bicycle info view, you can see all the places that we've got bike storage, bike racks, and if we turn off some of these info views, you can see all the blue networks are dedicated cycle lanes, and then these light green ones are roads that allow bicycles. Now, I didn't go ahead and add bicycle lanes to every single road. I think on side roads, since they're fairly quiet, I'm quite happy for them to be shared spaces, both cars and bikes. And if anything, the bikes will slow the cars down, making these side streets less attractive for traffic in general. If we have a look at bicycle traffic volume, we can have a look at the hotspots, which is pretty much this entire area. This whole stretch of the beach is super popular with bicycles, along with the main road that we've got running parallel through the city. And you can see some of these side roads where we haven't got any bicycle lanes are fairly quiet, which is exactly what we wanted. When I zoned this area, most of the commercial is along the main corridors, along the main roads, and then inside the block is where we've got most of the residential properties, which is what you'd like to find in real life. We may as well check the traffic volume through here. So we do have this big road that comes along the front, and then it turns up and heads to Phoenix Bridge. Although this is a wide road, it currently only has 2 lanes of traffic with some parking on the side. This may get upgraded in the future if we need to. It's more of a mitigation for the future. Alternatively, we could bring down a tram track, although this may compete with the main tram track that's going through the center of the city. I think I'm happy that it's just used for parking for now, since there's not too many parking facilities in the area. And now that we've got all this high density in the area, we're going to need spaces for people to park their cars. If we have a look at the parking areas, we've only got a few spaces here and there. So a little bit of surface parking, a little bit of motorcycle parking. We've got the new multi-story, the little mini one there. And then we have these little underground ones, which are currently filled to about 80%. And I'm pretty excited to see that we do have quite a lot of people walking on the beach. So if you really want to see a little bit of life in your beach areas, be sure to use some of those pedestrian areas combined with invisible paths, and it will just make the whole area seem like it's a real place. And that's a wrap. Since recording this episode, another patch has landed for City Skylines 2, this time bringing asset support. At the moment, I can't load into this save while we wait for the mods to catch up, but honestly, the future looks really promising. I'm excited to see what the community creates next. If you've spotted any new assets that you think would fit right into Sunny Isle, let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching, take care, and goodbye.